Good day, everybody. My name is Olivier Oullier. I'm the president of Emotive, a neurotechnology company, and it's a pleasure to welcome you to this EdTalk on technology and inclusiveness with my great friend Rodrigo. So Rodrigo, I think we're going to start by allowing you to introduce yourself, please.
Okay, so hello everyone. It's also a great pleasure to be here. Thank you, Olivier, for inviting me. Well, I run an institute in Brazil, and our mission is to guarantee that every child with disability has access to mainstream school. So being in touch with the other students and having the chance to achieve his or her best in terms of development, in terms of building autonomy. And to do that, we basically develop research about best practices around the world, and we offer teacher training for public schools in all regions of Brazil. We are now working with 20 states, always establishing partnerships with the secretaries of education, and we are also helping the government of Angola to create a national policy of inclusive education.
This is fantastic. So when we talk about technology, what is fantastic here at the Global Education and Skills Forum is you've been able to experience things in the future zone. And some of the technological experiments and experiences that were offered to you were quite amazing. There's virtual reality, immersive reality, avatars, and also something that we allowed people to do, which is basically to transform everyone into a Jedi by controlling objects with our minds. So some of you might have tried that. So she's flying a drone with her mind. If you think it's cool, now wait and see what happened when Rodrigo was interacting with objects. This happened a year ago.
In Brazil, there are 45 million people with some disability and many abilities. How can skills stand out more than limitations? How can we urge people to respect diversity and overcome prejudices? Global presents Powered by Respect. For the first time, a quadriplegic drove a race car with mind control. To enhance awareness, we built a very special car.
Você tá brincando.
Our innovation team combined EEG brain power technology with steering algorithms and track mapping.
O carro tem um computador de bordo que traduz esses pensamentos para comandos efetivos no carro. Ele consegue atuar em todos os elementos mecânicos do carro.
Direita. Acelera.
Wow.
And we had speed, temperature, and heart rate controls.
It doesn't have pedals, it doesn't have a steering wheel, it doesn't have anything. It's just him and his mind driving it forward. It blew my mind.
It was the vehicle to launch a social responsibility action on our channels and digital platforms. The campaign kicked off the Formula One season.
Uma pessoa com tetraplegia.
It hit the media and social media.
So the idea of just moving an object with my mind is already the stuff of science fiction. But driving a Formula One car, it takes it up to another level.
If limits can be overcome, so can prejudice.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rodrigo. Wait, you're not allowed to talk. You have to listen because...
Okay, you're the boss here.
Thank you. Because if you think you impressed people here, these are not the only people who got impressed. We got a couple of friends who sent you messages. They sent messages to you as a driver. Look at that.
Hi, Rodrigos. I'm here with Olivier and just discovering here the emotive products and everything and what it does. And so, yeah, great to see your video. I hope that was a lot of fun, of course, and great that you were able to experience to be on in a race car on the racetrack. 80 kilometers per hour, not bad. Maybe next time even faster. Who knows? But anyways, maybe it would be good to meet you one day. And great to know that you're such a fan of our sport as well. And so best regards here from the WEF in Davos. And bye bye.
Nico Rosberg, 2016 Formula One World Champion. Thank you, Nico.
So he hired that from me.
Yeah. Wait. That's not all. You're not allowed to talk yet. We got someone else.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Jean-Claude.
Ladies, gentlemen, dear friends, dear Olivier Oullier, dear Rodrigo Mendes. You are all here Formula One fans, but I know that Rodrigo is even more a Ferrari enthusiast. And so I thought that a message from me after one from Nico Rosberg will make you happy. So the work of your foundation, you aim to build an inclusive society that guarantees equal rights and values human difference. To this end, you have developed research and continuing education programs related to social control in the field of inclusive education. You have been doing a fantastic job that deserves to be showcased and praised at this Global Skills Education Forum. But you also accomplished a great sporting feat last June, driving a single-seater on the track with ease. I wish to congratulate you warmly on this achievement and for all of your activities, which are very much in line with our objectives, especially the goal of providing everyone with access to sport, regardless of our differences and disabilities. We have created a new commission this year to deal with these issues. You are an example of courage and will, and you push the boundaries of what is possible. Thank you for your commitment, thank you for your actions, and have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Unbelievable. Wow.
So what you don't know is, thanks to you driving the car with your mind, Klaus Schwab, the executive chairman and founder of the World Economic Forum, and Jean Todt found out about what we're doing and invited us to participate in a global program on road safety that has been launched at Davos. And it wouldn't have been possible without your performance because they wouldn't have known about us.
Wow.
So in addition to everything you're doing for inclusiveness, you're also contributing to saving lives on the road.
Okay.
So this is fantastic. I think we can go for another round. So my first question to you is one thing that is really interesting, and that's a picture actually I took of you when we were in Washington the first time we met before going to the White House. So that goes way back.
Yeah.
Because I would say, unfortunately, now people hear almost more about Rodrigo for what he did in a Formula One car than what he does with his institute and to helping inclusiveness. So, Rodrigo, one thing that has been important in us meeting each other, in you being able to scale what you've been doing, is the role of a community of people, the World Economic Forum, and the young global leaders that have been so positive and supportive. So can you tell us a little bit your journey through the community and how it has impacted your life and your actions?
Okay, of course. I became a YGL in 2008. At that time, our work were, I can say, small comparing to what we are doing now. And I went to the Harvard program at the Kennedy School. And there I met Professor Fernando Hÿbner, who was here. Yeah, he's participating in this conference. And Fernando was so interested in our work. We had a dinner, and I told him about one of my the ideas I wanted to implement, which was to create a portal, a global portal, to offer teachers references about how to implement inclusive education. Because as you know, this is a human right, so everyone agrees that it's the right thing to do. The problem is how to implement it. Many teachers feel unprepared and insecure in terms of serving children with cerebral palsy, children that have some kinds of psychological disorders and so on. And the vision was, well, maybe we can offer a bunch of case studies and articles and practices that anyone can consult and use as a reference to implement his or her own project. And so that's how one of our major projects started in Harvard. It is called Diversa, this portal. And since then we have been scaling what we do. So our strategy is always working with public policy. So all the courses we offer, they are organized together with the secretaries of education, as I said, and the idea is to reach 2 million teachers. This is the contingent of educators in Brazil, and we have a very strong legislation nowadays that obligates every school to serve students with disability, and we are passing through this transformation process, and our role is to give, to offer support and to be together with the school's principals as well. So
wait. You mean you influence policy? I think there are a couple of people that should learn from you here that have tried a lot without achieving. So this is absolutely amazing.
Yeah. And then after this this participation in Harvard, I was invited to give some classes in one of the graduate school of education at Harvard, and during this program, one of the UNICEF officers was attending the course. He was working in Angola, and he invited me to participate in a search for a consultancy at the Ministry of Education in Angola, and I was selected to work with them. So we started in 2015. We have already written the national policy, and like 5 months ago, the president of Angola signed this policy. So it will impact like thousands of children and teenagers, and we will completely change the way the children are served in Angola. So all this scale is somehow thanks to the young global leaders and to my relationship with the WEF.
It's great, and there are two other things that we can talk about. I think there is a special lady that created a brain scan that you used. I'm very biased because now I work for the company, but Tanli, the founder and CEO of the company, basically, we all met through the Young Global Leaders, including one of the persons that we have to thank for being here today, Vikas Pota,
of course.
The chief executive here.
Yeah.
It's this wonderful community. So there is your interaction with Tan and Emotive and the fact that you've been able to drive this car. But we will come back a little bit later on your next project. And you were with our friend Niall Dunn on stage in Tokyo a few months ago to talk about it. So Rodrigo, what is really interesting also for us is through your journey. And I want also to stress one thing is here, I would say unfortunately people talk way too much about your disability. Personally, not only as a friend, but just as someone who wants to help, trying to help. When I heard that you were the first quadriplegic person to drive a Formula One car with your mind, I was like, no way, he's the first person to drive a Formula One with his mind. And that's way more important. No one did that before. And the fact you're quadriplegic of course, draws more attention to it. Let's not lie to ourselves. But you were the first person to do that. And I think what is also interesting in your story, because you're my friend, I know a lot of intimate details we're not going to share here. One thing you need to know is that, as you can hear, I'm French, he's Brazilian. Well, we're better at football recently. They're better at football, you know, the one you play with your foot, over the history. And of course, we always tease each other about football and about sports. But
let's not comment. Let's not comment on that, okay?
Yeah, well, you're bitter. But anyway, the point being that we talk about sports, and some of your actions and what you do is not, you're all-inclusive, if I may say. It's not just for disabled people, because what you've created, the ecosystems, the environment, are benefiting everyone. And I think that by opening minds, opening Congress, Senate, ministries to causes that people don't know, drawing attention, you're helping the entire community, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. We started working with sports and physical education in 2013. At that time, UNICEF and the Barcelona Soccer Team Foundation invited me to develop a program in Brazil aiming to take advantage of the World Cup and the Olympic Games. So we created a course for teachers which explores the idea of physical education as a tool to promote inclusion and not exclusion. Because normally children with disabilities, they are just taken away from the classes of physical education. And we create a model which has as a principal objective to guarantee that every student participates. And it's very interesting because what the teachers do is to gather the students and put them to think about, okay, so our colleague here is deaf or he's blind or so on. How can we change the rules of the game so he or she can also participate? And it's amazing what the children create and how involved they get. And at the end of the day, what we see is that this is much better, not for only for the students who were excluded, but for all students. So inclusive education is a framework that generates much more powerful education to the whole school, because you offer the opportunity to everyone to be in touch with human diversity since childhood. That's something that I personally didn't have the opportunity to. I studied in a German school, very conservative, very patronized, and so on. And second, what we see is that when you bring diversity to the classrooms, you force the teachers to be much more creative. They have to plan their classes. They have to leave behind the old way in terms of teaching. And that's so much better for the school.
You're giving a new meaning to one size fits all doesn't work.
Yeah.
You're bringing this to a new dimension. What I wanted to ask you before we end, because the format of the EdTalk is also for you to answer questions from the people who kindly came and attend the session, is what is the role of technology in the efforts of your institute?
Okay. Well, I think it's important to explain, to share what is the new definition of disability. Does anyone here know that? The United Nations enacted a convention in 2006, and this convention brought this new definition. So since then, the disability is considered to be a combination between two factors. First, the clinical impairment of the person, so it can be physical, intellectual, and so on. And second, the barriers there are in society. And the barriers can be on the architecture, on the equipment, on the communication, and so on. So what's the big deal? What changed? It's a big transformation because that means that if we are able to reduce the barriers, we are going to reduce the impact of the disability. So the disability now is not like a binary factor. So you have or you don't have. It's not like that. Now we see the disability as a spectrum, and you can have a deeper disability or a softer disability, depending on the amount of barriers that are around us. Wow. And that applies to the schools. And talking about technology, the role of technology is to help us eliminate those barriers.
Fantastic. I know I said that we have to stop talking about you as a driver, but the last thing I would like to do is to talk about what happened yesterday. So for those who did not attend the session yesterday that was mastered by our friend Vikas, here's a reminder of what happened.
Thank you so much. I want to actually introduce my friend Rodrigo Mendes from Brazil over here. Rodrigo is in a wheelchair, as you see, but when he was young, he was a sportsman. Last year or the year before, using technology, TV Global actually did a reality program on him where he drove a Formula One car up to 80 kilometers per hour using his mind. Now,
I read about it.
You read about it?
Yeah. I was like,
So
how in the world did that? How did you do that?
Can we get a mic up here? Because I want Rodrigo to ask a question. Can I borrow that?
Yeah.
Luke, can you help?
Yeah, sure.
Hi, Luis. It's an honor to meet you. And well, I heard that you're a fan of Ayrton Senna. So, you know, the Brazilians are recognized by being very, very good pilots. So, don't get me wrong, but I would like to invite you to race against me. And then, please choose the track, okay? Whenever you want, I'll be there.
Can I use the same, the technology that you're using? Could I use that technology? Can we fight with our minds?
So Olivier over
Yes,
here.
Olivier is the president of the company, so he can arrange that for you, but as you want.
Oh yeah, listen, it has to be the same car and the same gear, so
Exactly.
it will be mind control against mind control.
Perfect.
Sounds good? Do we have a deal here?
Much up for it.
Fantastic.
Oh, thanks a lot.
No, thank you so much.
That was thanks of Olivier.
And
He
Vikas.
arranged that. He arranged that.
So wait. Here's the deal. It's like you heard. He was like, I give you the advantage of a track. I thought you were going to tell him, I give you 10 seconds ahead. I'm going to beat you anyway. So this is what happened yesterday. And we have to thank Lewis Hamilton for agreeing to race Rodrigo. We're going to organize that in the coming months because now we have to create a second car that will be basically controlled with, this is what Rodrigo had on his head when he was mind controlling. So, well, I'm sure you can beat him. And I think we can take bets on that. So thank you so much, Rodrigo.
Thank you, Olivier.
And we're going to take questions now. I'm sure you got questions for Rodrigo.
Okay. Bateu foto lá?
Thank you. Well, it's I've got two questions.
Let me turn to you. Think I'll vou virar pouquinho para ela.
First, I'd like to know the company that has created this, so that I can read a little bit more about it, please. And second of all, you weren't just driving a car. You've illuminated a road of hope. I'm sorry, I don't want to get emotional, but my daughter has got CP. And seeing you do that, you know, has really inspired me. So thank you.
Okay.
See, it's what we were talking about. Unintended, very positive consequences of what was entertainment maybe for you, and I'm sure amazing. Can I share something about why you're in the chair to people?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is why it meant even more to Rodrigo, is that 27 years before him being in that car, as he was about to start driving his own car in Sao Paulo, someone shot him in the back, dragged him out of a car, left him for dead, and stole the car. So it was the first time that Rodrigo was back behind the wheel and being able to drive. So for you, it was driving again. For a lot of people, it was opening doors, opening roads, whether for partnerships, inspiration, giving hope to people. And I think this is something we can't quantify, you can't quantify, but we are extremely grateful for that. It's absolutely amazing.
Okay.
So before we all cry, can we have another question, please?
So, but you were interested about the technology, then we have to explain her.
No, we're here. I'll happily talk about the technology
Okay.
off camera. We're not here to advertise the tech, but to talk about my friend. The only thing I can tell you about the technology is that it's a female CEO, 50% of executives are female, and that's important.
Thanks very much. My name is David. I'm from South Africa, Cape Town. I spent 30 years in a classroom and then became a superintendent last year. And what has struck me greatly in my country is that children with special needs are put to one side. I've got 210 schools, and only 15 of those schools cater for the needs of physically disabled, severely intellectually disabled. What you said this morning in the hall, when you spoke about the Paralympics and the Olympics, being one Olympics, you obviously meant competing against Paralympians in the same race and leaving those that have a different ability to run. So you wouldn't pit somebody like, sorry to use the name, Oscar Pistorius against Usain Bolt, or you're talking about a totally integrated games. What advice would you give to my government if you came to South Africa to say, make your schools more inclusive? Because we hide the Down syndrome children, we hide the children with physical disabilities, severely intellectually disabled. What advice would you give to our government, or what advice do you give to the Brazilian government about making sure that our society is far more inclusive?
I think the first thing is to see that this is not acceptable anymore. We cannot just see children being excluded from schools and saying nothing. That's a matter of human rights. And that needs to come from the top leadership. The government has to assume that as a priority. And to implement that, it's important to transform this vision into laws, into legislations, into practices. And as I was saying, and to see that as an opportunity to transform schools, to offer a better education for all. So what I would suggest is to put our voice working in favor of this cause, and not just being part of a system that simply excludes and eliminates the future perspectives of so many people.
Thank you, and that's a great segue to the last bit we had to talk about, is this thing that you hinted at with our friend Niall Dunn on stage in Tokyo, which is your next, can I call that a pet project because it's so big? Okay, talk about it now.
Yeah, well, I mentioned that during the panel in the morning. So I was invited to participate in a panel in Tokyo 2 years ago, and the topic was how to be more ambitious in terms of the social legacy generated by the games. And my proposal, summarizing here, was to use the Olympic flame as a powerful symbol of human equality. Because nowadays, I don't know if everyone is aware of that, what happens is at the closing ceremony of the Olympic Games, they just put off the flame of the Olympic cauldron, and then like 3 weeks later, they light again a second cauldron, and then the Paralympic Games starts. So if we stop to think about that, it's a very negative message, because you are saying, this is the best, the elite of humankind, and now we have something more related to philanthropy or something like that. So the idea, it is not easy. You were asking, it's not easy to put the two games together. That will be the long-term vision to work as a one game, let's say. But what we can do right now is to promote a symbolic unification of the games through the Olympic flame. So keeping the flame lit during that period, that would be an amazing change in history, I would say. Yeah?
One flame.
One flame, yeah.
Well, thank you very much to all of you for coming. The next sentence is going to be a bit surreal, but thank you, Nico Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton, Jean Todt, Vikas Pota, and the Varke Foundation for the support. Congratulations again. And I'm going to leave stage, and we're all going to applaud the only guy that matters here.
Oh, no. He's the guy, he's the guy. Okay, and if anyone wants to talk more, I will be outside the whole day, okay?
Yeah, try to catch him, he moves fast.